Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head over to America once again, and we're going to return to a brewery that's featured on the channel once before. So the last review that I did involving this brewery came back in 2019 if I'm not mistaken, and that beer was one that I brought back from my trip over to the US that I made for my friend's wedding, and it turned out to be really quite nice actually. When I came across this beer in Beer in the One Mall in Tsim Sha Tsui here in Hong Kong, I actually thought I'd found a new brewery that I hadn't tried anything from before, but when I went through my archive of brewery notes, I found that I had reviewed something from them. But the beer we're going to have a look at today is a different style from that first one that I tried. It is a style that I very much enjoy, and one that is kind of growing a little bit in popularity again in recent times. So needless to say, I'm really curious to see what this beer is going to have in store for us. Quite excited to return to this brewery, so hopefully it's another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to go to the state of Illinois in the American Midwest. We're going to go to the southeastern part of the state, to the city of Chicago, and we're going to go to the Logan Square area. And that means that we're going to have a look at my second beer on the channel from Maplewood Brewery. So this particular beer is called Sidewalk Surfer. It comes in at 8% ABV, and this one is a West Coast Imperial Double, whatever you want to call it, IPA. So yeah, when I bought this one, I actually thought it was going to be a New England hazy, because you know most IPAs these days are, but then I got a nice surprise in addition to finding that I had notes for this brewery already, in that it was a West Coast rather than a New England, and I do like having West Coast IPAs as well as the New Englands. So yeah, this is supposed to be a very nice example of that style, and yeah, just another random find in beer here in Hong Kong, which is always interesting. So let's crack on with this one then and see how we get on. Always nice to review some Chicago beers for you on the channel, and of course a big shout out to Jesse Holden, who is one of the OG followers of the channel. I know he likes it when I review the Chicago stuff. But yeah, let's crack on then and see what this beer is going to have in store for us. So, as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Maplewood Brewery before, and we will see about adding some more to that list at some point in the near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the American playlist along with a number of other things, and that is being added to it whenever I get the opportunity. So do stay tuned for that actually, but make sure you check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some very, very interesting things on the channel these days. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about Maplewood Brewery once again then. So, Maplewood Brewery were founded back in 2014 by brothers Paul and Ari Mergelis, along with Adam Cieslak and Kevin Hole. So the brewery is based in the Maplewood area of Logan Square in Chicago, Illinois, from which it takes its name. And if you go into the background of these guys that are running the brewery, it's quite interesting. So Ari studied entrepreneurship and management and worked for a number of years as a manager at the Chateau Ritz, which was owned by his family. And he'd always been a big beer enthusiast, but he began to homebrew in his parents' kitchen along with his childhood friend Adam. And after receiving great feedback on their beers, they decided that they wanted to take this project commercial, and that was when you had Paul coming in and also Kevin as well to help them get the business side of things off the ground. But after finding a suitable location for the company, it was officially launched in January of 2014, and they released their first beer, the Charlatan Pale Ale, in October of 2014, and they further expanded their repertoire of beers ever since. In 2016, they began to distill spirits, and they've produced a number of things, including whiskies, different malt varieties. I think they've done wheat whiskies and rye whiskies and stuff like this. And you know, a number of those malts actually go into their beers as well, from what I understand. But they produce gin as well, and apparently they were the first brewery and distillery under one roof in the whole of the state of Illinois, which is quite interesting. But they also have their on-site bar, which opened in 2017, and this serves the beers, the spirits, cocktails, and also food as well. And over the last few years, they've continued to expand their distribution to different states and to develop the brewery and distillery infrastructure. And as of May 2024, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 330 different kinds of beer according to Untappd. And when you think about that, they've been around for about 10 years now. 330 beers, that's in the region of about 30 beers a year, so one beer every 2 weeks, something like that. So yeah, fairly impressive output, but kind of steady at the same time. So yeah, pretty good, pretty solid over 10 years. But these guys are very well regarded in the Chicago area. There are many breweries in the city of Chicago as well, so that is somewhere that I could go and live for a year and still be finding new breweries to film at. But yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about Maplewood Brewery for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a wee bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on and have a little look at the beer itself. So yeah, as you can see, the artwork on this one is quite simple and quite straightforward. There you can see the Maplewood symbol in there as well. Plain silver top on the can, and you can see on the back here there is Maplewood, which is quite nice. 473 milliliter can, incidentally, which is 1 American pint, 16 fluid ounces if you want to use the American Freedom Unit scale, as I like to call it. Makes no sense. Just use the metric system, guys. It's based on water, the universal solvent, chemistry and all that. It is a brewery. But yeah, the hops in this one are Strata, Mosaic and Chinook. We know all of these quite well. All three of them are American. Strata is about 14% alpha acid, and it's going to give you that lovely kind of strawberry sort of flavour. Mosaic is going to give you that big tangerine orangey character, again 14% alpha acid. Chinook is about 12% alpha acid if I remember correctly, and it's going to give you that big sort of piney resinous note and also a good little bit of grapefruit. The malt base in this one, from what I understand, is Pilsner malts, white wheat, Carapils and light Munich. So yeah, that should make for a really interesting West Coast IPA actually. So yeah, like I said, West Coast double IPA, this one coming in at 8% ABV. I think this might be one of their core beers actually, but I'm not 100% sure because it did seem to be on quite a few of the things on the brewery, so I'm guessing this is a regular brew, this one. So kind of cool to try one of the regular things too. But let's get this guy out into the glass and see what it's all about. I'm very curious about this one. So this should be nice. Oh, that looks good. That does look very nice. I think that'll do for the moment. So before the head disappears on the beer, you can see that it's poured with just a bit over a half finger of a frothy, I would say, yeah, perfect white head. Kind of a more bumpy actually. I think I said frothy a bit too prematurely. So yeah, medium-sized bubbles on the surface of the liquid, more kind of bumpy things sitting on top of that. Then yeah, it's just a little island of bubbles and things like that in the middle of the glass. So yeah, all in all, it looks very nice actually. Yeah, this one looks quite interesting. I mean, for me, this is quite I'd say it's one of the more yellow West Coast IPAs that I've come across. So for me, West Coast IPAs can lean two ways. They can be a little bit more caramelly and oily, such as the Sierra Nevada Torpedo, or they can be a little bit more kind of bready and biscuity, such as the Pliny the Elder from Russian River. For me, those are, that's just my point of reference. Those are the two kind of benchmarks, if you like. But just going by the colour of this one, I suspect this is going to be a more sort of bready, biscuity affair. So remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. 1, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. 2, length of your wort boil is going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelize, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour as well. But yeah, you don't often have to care about that with West Coast IPAs. or any type of IPA other than fruit IPA, come to think of it. But yeah, just going by the colour of this one, I think it is going to be more of a kind of bready, biscuity leaning affair. So yeah, looks very nice. This one, not too much in the way of visible carbonation, and it does have a little bit of a natural haze to it, which means that it's unfiltered. So yeah, looks very good, this one. So I don't think we need to say anything more about the appearance of the beer. Let's have a wee look at the aroma then and see how we get on. So yeah, really looking forward to this. Oh yeah, that's good. That is good. It's giving you everything you'd want from the style. I'm going to say straight away, it's actually one of the kind of more orangey and sweeter West Coast IPAs I think I've come across in a wee while. And of course, you know, you've got Mosaic in this one, so that makes sense. But yeah, this is giving you everything you want. You've got that big, deep, slightly dank green component in there. The Chinook is going to contribute a lot to that, of course. You've got a nice bready and sweet caramelly malt base, and you've got the big oily fruits. So remember, probably the two defining characteristics, English brain isn't working, defining characteristics of a West Coast IPA would be that the malt base is primarily barley malt. It's not unheard of to use a little bit of wheat or a little bit of oat in them, but a lot less than you would for a New England hazy IPA, of course. Primarily barley malt in the malt base, and they also use early edition hopping, which we'll come to a little bit later on. And I think the reason this beer has that little bit of natural haze is because there was a wee bit of wheat in this one, white wheat if I remember correctly. But yeah, aroma, this is absolutely great. So let's just break that down and describe it for you a wee bit more in depth. We'll start with the malty and yeasty side of the beer, as we often do. So yeah, backbone of this beer, you have that really nice kind of fresh white bready bread crust coming out of this one. There's a little touch of cracker, a little bit of wood. These are, you know, little smells that you often get out of these beers. But above that, you've got a lot of like dense, fluffy white bread. So yeah, the white bread in this one, it's actually comes across as being almost like floury, if that makes sense. Like it's fresh off the baking table. White flour, incidentally, not the flowers that grow in the garden. So yeah, you've got that little bit of like thick, dense, but slightly dry white bready character coming out of this one. You can smell at the back of the nose, there is a little bit of bitiness from the wheat in this one, which is quite interesting. But then above that, you start to get all the kind of brown sugary notes. So for me, there's a little bit of a toasty, there's a wee bit of a toasty caramel coming out of this one. So yeah, a little bit of a toasty caramel, wee bit of a more oily caramel coming out of this one as well. So yeah, toasty caramel, oily caramel, maybe a little bit of McVitie's digestive biscuit too. Yeah, it's actually kind of straightforward in its malt base, this one, but I think that the German malt, you can smell the Munich breadiness in this one because it just gives the beer that little bit of almost crispness. German malt, as I've explained on the channel many a time before, I find that the American malts give you this more oily bready character, such as, you know, the Turos and things, but the European malts are just that little bit drier and more crisp in their character, and you can smell a wee bit of a mix of that in here, but the wheat obviously is densifying out the whole thing and giving you a wee bit of bitiness, and I think also a wee bit of dryness too. So the malt base in this one I think is going to be quite interesting to taste because you've got that mix of German and American malt in there. So yeah, very curious about that. Yeah, in terms of the malt base, I don't know if we've really got too much else to say on that. You do get a little bit of woody and crackery note out of it into the aftertaste, which is to be expected. But yeah, all in all, I quite like it. So there's a wee bit of yeasty character in there for sure. You do get a little bit of a crisp white bready note from the yeasty side of things, but then we should move on to talking about the hoppy side of this beer. So as I've mentioned in many videos before, there are three types of hoppings that you can use when it comes to IPAs. You've got that you've got early edition hopping, which takes place within the first hour of the wort ball. That gives you that deep, dank aroma and flavour, and you know, it's responsible for a lot of the bitterness in your beer. In the last half hour of the wort boil, you've got late edition hopping, which gives you a little bit of bitterness, but mainly flavour and aroma, and it gives you a very bright green component with those flavours and aromas. But then you also have dry hopping, which takes place after the water boil is complete, and that completely gives you flavour and aroma, and again a very bright green component. So West Coast IPAs tend to use all three, which is why they're deeper and danker. New England IPAs rely on the latter two, which is why they're kind of softer and juicier and things. There are many modern interpretations of the West Coast IPA though that use primarily late addition and dry hopping that aren't quite as bitter. But for me, a proper West Coast IPA should have that deep, dank, bitter character. And with the use of Chinook in this one, I'm quite hopeful that this will. So let's just examine that from the aroma perspective just now. So yeah, one thing you have to remember too is that, you know, if you drink more bitter beers, you are going to become less sensitized to it. So I find sometimes when I take in West Coast IPAs like this, it takes a little bit of time for the bitterness to build, and I have a feeling just from the aroma, that's what I'm going to get out of this beer as well. So for me, the green component in this one does have a little bit of that deep dank character to it. I'm getting a little touch of earthiness, which is going to be from the mosaic in this case, I would say. I am getting a wee bit of herbal note, but again, that's quite minimal. You've got you do have that nice kind of piney resinous character, which I think is great. Yeah, deep dank kind of piney resinous character, some nice floral aromatic spice, and then yeah, you've got quite a little bit of zesty, grassy character coming out of this one as well. So yeah, green component is all there. Not quite as piney and resinous as I would have expected with the use of Chinook and things, but still, it comes across very nicely. The fruity side of the beer, I think, is really quite nice as well. So yeah, you have that a little bit with the fruity side of things. You do get a little bit of that kind of grapefruity character from the Chinook in there, definitely. But in honesty, not too much, to be honest with you. The beer, it has, it has quite a little bit. I do get quite a bit of the strawberry from the Strata in this one, definitely. There's a wee bit of melon in there as well. Strata can often give you a little bit of melon, so I'm getting a bit of grapefruit, bit of melon, bit of strawberry. But the orangey character, I think, is dominating the aroma of this one. That tangerine orange from the mosaic takes your nose a little bit of time to adjust, and the other, the melon and the strawberry feel as if they're underneath that big kind of tangerine blanket. But yeah, the way all of that goes together. So yeah, it's really quite nice. The aroma of this one. So like I say, it's quite a bready, juicy, oily West Coast IPA. Actually, I think this is going to be a really nice one to try, in fact. So yeah, as I always say, just take that little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck in. But the fruity side of this one's nice, big orangey notes, but with a wee bit of melon, strawberry, and a touch of grapefruit underneath. So yeah, this is going to be good. Let's just get the rest of it out into the glass for trying it. As I always say, take a bit of time to enjoy that aroma. So this is the Sidewalk Surfer, a West Coast double IPA at 8% ABV from Maplewood Brewery and Distillery, of course, in Maplewood, Logan Square, Chicago, Illinois, America. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Yeah, the way that goes together is really nice. Yeah, I do like how this kind of pieces together, this one. So yeah, it is actually a little bit sweeter than I thought it was going to be in the malty side of things, but it does show you the bready part that I was expecting it would. Wee bit, the bitterness is taking that little bit of time to build as I expected, and yeah, the fruity side of this beer is just really nice as well. So this gets a big thumbs up from me. I'm quite happy with this one, in all honesty. So yeah, let's break this beer down then and just describe it a wee bit more in depth for you, as we always do. is good. I've missed the West Coast IPAs like this. But yeah, middle third of your palate then. The backbone of the beer, you get that lovely little bit of kind of fresh white bready bread crust coming out of this one. Yeah, so fresh white bready bread crust. As you move further forward, it's quite a soft bread crust incidentally as well. As you move further forward on that middle third of your palate, you get a little touch of a kind of woody note out of this one, but you can feel there's quite a little bit of like cracker sitting on top of that white bready bread crust. But then, as I was kind of picking up in the aroma, there's a hell of a dense white bready character to this one. I'm really impressed by how much like how much white bready character there is in this, to be honest with you, and how dense it is. So yeah, above the cracker layer, you've got that nice white bready character there, which it is, again, it's quite dry actually, but at the same time it has that little bit of crispness to it. So some of that's, I'm guessing, it's going to be partly, the Munich malt is going to contribute a little bit to that. So the Munich malt, I think, is going to give it the dry kind of crisp character. But above that white bready layer, you can feel there's an even more dense layer of white bread, and that's going to be from the wheat, obviously. But the wheat is quite smooth, albeit just that little bit dry. So you've got 2 layers of white bread in this one, which I think is really nice. So yeah, no, I really do like how that pieces together. So yeah, nice dent, as I say. You get a little bit more sweetness out of the white bread as well into the aftertaste, but as I say, it's still that little bit dry. So above the wheaty character, you start to get the kind of brown sugary notes out of this one. So you've got a layer of like a very lightly toasty caramel to this one, but then in the very center of the palate, you can feel you've got that really concentrated, sweeter caramel note, which is obviously the alcohol coming out of this one. But as you move further out from that, you get the more concentrated biscuity note, and then you get the kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity note coming out of this one as well. So yeah, the way that all of that pieces together, I think, is really, really nice. Yeah, really, really nice blend of stuff in the malt base here. So yeah, like I say, the thing that really sticks with me about this one is just the way the white bready character comes out and that little bit of dryness that the beer has. So I think that's going to be from the Munich malt. You especially get a little bit of that dry crispness at the back of that middle third of your palate. So yeah, the way that that goes together is nice. So on the on the middle third of the palate, I think we've said everything we need to. So remember the general trend with your palate that sweeter flavours come out further forward, more dry and bitter flavours come out further back, and the back third of your palate is going to give you similar flavours to middle third of your palate, just at different intensities. So the border region between middle and back third of your palate, you get a nice little bit of bready build up in there. Again, you can feel that lighter white bread in the base, but the more dense white bread in the top, and a wee bit of the kind of Munich malty crispness as well. But the base of that back third of your palate, you do get the kind of fresh, dry, white bready bread crust in there. You've got a little bit of the, as I say, you have a little bit of a kind of crackery layer in there. Then yeah, the regular white bready layer, which is quite light, airy and quite tall. Then above that you've got the more dense wheaty one, which shows you a little bit more bite on that back third of the palate too. Then you just get a little bit of the more crisp, toasty caramel creeping over the top of that, and that is the malty component on the back third of your palate. Let's look at the yeasty side of things. So yeah, the yeasty side of things in this one is, I would say, there's like a little bit of brown bread to it, so you get this really dense white bready character at the centre of the yeasty side of the beer. Then as you move further out from that, it's a little bit more of a kind of brown bready type character. So yeah, a little bit of a brown bready character. Then the edge of it is like a kind of bread crusty sort of thing. So yeah, the way all of that goes together is really nice. But definitely, yeah, definitely the back third of your palate, you get a really nice, you get a nice little bit of yeastiness coming out of this beer for sure. And I really do like how that pieces together in this one. So that gets a thumbs up from me. Yeah, interesting. So yeah, back third of your palate, you can feel the flavour is taller. Then as you come further forward into the middle third of your tongue, it just kind of condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. But as I say, big thumbs up from me. Yeah, onto the hoppy side of things then. Back corners of the palate, you do get that little bit of earthiness in there. And as you move further forward, it's a little touch herbal. But yeah, as you push further forward from that, there's some nice floral aromaticity coming out of the beer. So yeah, nice floral aromaticity there, but you can feel there's a little bit of that kind of more dank pine resiny note, which is obviously going to come from the Chinook in this case. So yeah, the Chinook is giving you that kind of deeper, danker pine resiny note, but a little bit of spicy floral aromaticity at the front corners of the palate, and then round the front curve of the tongue, it's a wee bit lighter and more grassy as well. So yeah, a little bit of an oiliness to the grassy character as well. It's not too zesty, which is interesting. But let's have a wee look at that front third of your palate then, and the fruity side of the beer. Yeah, so border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you can feel there's a little bit of bready build up in there. The fluffy white bread in the base, or the lighter white bread, and the more dense wheaty note in there with a bit of bitiness, and the base of that front third of your palate as well. It's got the white bready bread crust, the cracker, the white bread, the more dense wheaty character in there. It's very smooth at that front third of your palate actually, and then on top of that you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters roll their way out of the beer. So yeah, the fruity side of the beer is kind of what I would expect from these hops. Like at the back of that little oily bubble, you do get a bit of the kind of stronger grapefruity notes from the Chinook, but as you move forward from that, yeah, you get a good bit of melon. There's quite a little bit of that pungent melon there from the Strata, and then as you move into the front half of that front third of your palate, pardon me, you can feel the kind of juicy strawberry from the Strata in the base, and then above that you get the mosaic for sure. So I think what's going on with this one is probably Chinook in the Whirlpool in the early edition, although there might be a little bit of Chinook dry hopping going on in this one as well. But yeah, I think on top of, I think this one, I think it's maybe 50-50 dry hop mix of Strata and Mosaic. But yeah, on top of the sort of juicy strawberry notes that you get, there's a wee bit of gooseberry almost comes out of that as well actually, but on top of that you get the kind of orangey tangerine characters, which are very, very nice. So that gets a thumbs up from me as well. I do like that with this one. Yeah, the fruity side of this one is really, really nice. When you first take it in, it shows you a hell of a lot of juicy orange, and it takes a wee bit of time for that melon and juicy strawberry flavour from the Strata to come out and then linger, and you've got a bit of the pine resin and a bit of the grapefruit as well. So yeah, I do really like how all of that pieces together. It gets a big thumbs up from me in that regard. So yeah, really, really like how this West Coast IPA goes together. The kind of standout thing for it with me is the way the malty character works, that sort of wheaty dryness that it has. So yeah, big thumbs up, big thumbs up from me. Yeah, I think we can round off this review then with a wee look at the mouthfeel. For me, this beer, I'd say top end to mid-bodied. Carbonation is really smooth. It's got a lovely oily slickness to it, this one actually. So yeah, lovely little bit of oily slickness in there. It does feel very clean. In terms of the IBU count, as I say, the IBU sort of builds up in this one the more that you drink of it. I don't know if it's fully like 80, 90 IBUs as this style always was back in the day. It feels like it might be 60 IBUs or something like that. So yeah, feels a little bit like, yeah, 60, 70 IBUs. But yeah, somewhere in that region I think seems about right. I'll probably say that and be wrong though, but the maltness, as we say, has a bit of dryness underneath, smoothness and dryness in the middle, then you've got that oily, biscuity and caramelly character on top. Really nice kind of oily, juicy, fruity character sitting above that. And yeah, the way that all of it goes together is really nice. This is a bloody solid West Coast double IPA, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. Like I say, I like the malt base in this one. That's what makes this one stand out for me. It's just that slightly dry, white bready character that this one has, and that obviously is the presence. I think it's promoted by that presence of the white wheat in this one. But you've also got a bit of German malt in there, which kind of amplifies it and gives the beer that little bit of crispness. But yeah, really interesting beer, this one. So I think we can leave it at that for this review. This was the Sidewalk Surfer, an 8% West Coast double IPA from Maplewood Brewery in Logan Square, or Maplewood, Logan Square, Chicago, Illinois, in the US. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Maplewood Brewery as well, and we will no doubt return to these guys again at some point in the fair in the near future. I need to get back to Chicago and film at a few more of the breweries out there. That would be pretty awesome. But yeah, until the next time, thank you for watching. Check out my social media, check out Maplewood Brewery's social media, and I'll see you guys in another review very, very soon. Slàinte, skål, cheers, and catch you later.